Coming to you from the new Oddball Podcast Studios in New York City. My name is Vin Forte, and you're listening to Oddball with Vin Forte. Go follow the show over on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you get your podcast from. Follow on Twitter or X, whatever they're calling it now. Follow on Twitter. I'm just going to keep calling it Twitter. Follow on Twitter at Mighty Vin and at Oddball Podcast for the show. God, there's a lot of empty space in here. I don't know if you could hear that. I mean, I can only assume you can hear that being picked up in the back. I have to like put the mic right up to my mouth to not get any kind of echo. This is like old time radio. You know when you listen to like an oldie station and they come out of some Dion and the Belmont song and like out of nowhere the DJ's like WCBS FM and it's got that big wall of sound of Phil Spector echo in the background. That's what's going on here. I'm going to have to figure out something to do. I don't know if it's as simple as I'm looking at my door right now. If I just need to shut the door in my my little bedroom / office that I have now in my new apartment. This is a big space. This is a significant upgrade. If you've been listening for the past couple of weeks, I've been in the middle of a big move the past month, but finally moved in. As you can tell by the very spacious background, I've got, if I can tilt my head here, I've got an air conditioner now. Very, very luxurious. But hopefully the noise, if there is a noise, is not too bad. It's just like, it's an adjustment, but it's not like a net negative. But whatever. We'll see how it goes. If we need to make a small change, we'll acquiesce and then move on with our lives. But like I said, you're listening to Oddball with Vin Forte. If you're just listening to the pod, there's a video element as well. Just started doing videos about a month and a half ago. So go to youtube.com/Oddball Podcast. / @Oddball Podcast to subscribe. Get video portions of the show. We have guests on every once in a while, so you're gonna want to see them. You're gonna want to see the slides and everything else. In my room now, you get to see a new room. Bully for you and getting to see my new room. But we're gonna jump right into it today. Kind of a one topic episode, and that's player empowerment. But we're gonna start with the jumping off point, and we got a cool down segment later. But there's only one place to really start. And obviously, that one place is of this man right here, Mr. James Harden. Now, talked about James Harden last week, talked about him a little bit the week before. This saga ain't going away because last we spoke, he called Daryl Morey a liar. I think like the day that episode came out, like the night before, he had called him a liar in China of all places to promote his wine, which apparently went gangbusters. But then I heard I don't know if this is true or not, that it was just like a handful of people bought 10,000 bottles of the James Harden wine. I don't know. The wine part is completely ancillary and secondary to the real story of him twice, double time, calling Daryl Morey, the GM for the 76ers, a liar and not to be trusted. At the time, we all thought that it was because he promised him a bunch of money. Remember, James Harden took that pay cut last season because the thinking was, okay, he's either going to get traded or, it's going to come back and they're going to make him a deal in free agency. Guess what? Didn't happen. But that's not why he's a liar, apparently. Apparently he's a liar because he promised James Harden that he would get traded and get traded quick. Now, James Harden, from all accounts, wants to go to the Clippers. Okay, well, then we got ourselves a Damian Lillard situation where, Dame wants to go to the Heat. Okay, great. If I'm a GM, you got to give me a little more. I'm not saying you got to open the field up to, all 30 teams, but you got to give me a little more than one destination. But, as we'll talk about in a little bit, that has been sort of a big bugaboo for the NBA in the past, especially 5 or so years, where the contracts almost don't matter anymore. Players are going to go where players want to go. And James Harden is a prime example of that, getting caught in the crossfire of his own making right now. Because clearly he wants to go to the Clippers. Clearly he wants out. But clearly the Clippers don't really want him, or they're not going to make a deal. Or, rather, the 76ers aren't going to make a deal that's not advantageous to them. You could say all you want that James Harden has fallen off a couple steps, and certainly his playoff performances bear that out. But at the end of the day, he's still James Harden. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's still a world-class NBA player. He's still, he is who he is. Has he lost a couple steps? Yeah. Does he not show up at inopportune times in the playoffs? Yeah. And that comes with the territory. But, hey, he helps your team get there to begin with. And that's worth something. But is it worth enough for the Clippers to take him on and give up enough pieces that the 76ers would want to make that deal? Now, here's where it gets dicey. Because I totally understand where James Harden's coming from. I totally understand where Daryl Morey's coming from. I think one side is being a little more naive than the other, though. I think they're both being a little naive in the sense that, come on, man, Daryl Morey, you should not have guaranteed. You don't make a guarantee like that. It's like when you get your first job and your dad tells you, like, hey, don't spend any of that money yet. Like, wait for the check to clear. Wait for it to be in your bank. Know that you've got the money in your account. Don't go blowing it before you get the bag. And I think both sides kind of blew it before they got the bag. Now, Daryl Morey obviously doesn't have to worry about getting the bag. He's already the GM of the 76ers. Now, whether that remains to be seen going forward because of this and other blunders remains to be seen. But I digress. He should not have promised James Harden anything. Don't make any deals under the table, even if it's just an assumption that, like, hey, I'm going to trade you. If you can't back that up, now you're in the situation you're in. And on James Harden's end, I think he's being especially naive because it's like, come on, bro. Come on. I know Daryl Morey was your guy, but you cannot put the word of a GM of any league above anyone else. You have to know in the back of your mind that, especially if you only want to go to the Clippers, that this could potentially backfire. That they might not be able to find a place for you. That, if he truly only wants to go to one team, and Daryl Morey's like, okay, we're gonna make it happen, and they can't make it happen. You gotta know that was a possibility. You gotta know that was in the cards. So now we're in a situation where clearly he's burned a bridge. Clearly, I say clearly, but, Elijah Wan had that big dust up, with the Rockets, hey, another James Harden connection in the early mid-90s and led to 2 championships. So, I could be eating my words. Who's to say James Harden doesn't come back, makes nice, goes, you know what? I was having a certain way about me. Was going through a lot. I apologize. Let's put it behind us. Bridge under the water. Let's go out there and win a championship. And honestly, I kind of don't understand James Harden's logic. Right? Like, you're on a team right now with the league MVP. You're still James Harden. You've got Tyrese Maxey. You've got players. Like, right now, the 76ers could be gearing up for a pretty hot season. But instead, they've got all this James Harden drama. And again, once again, the 76ers, the Philadelphia 76ers, feel like always the bridesmaid, never the bride. It feels like they've just, every time they're about to get over the hump, and it feels like, okay, Embiid's the league MVP. That's a stepping stone. Next stepping stone, championship. We got James Harden drama now. And you run it back. We got Ben Simmons drama. And then you run it back before that. After that, it's like, we hired Doc Rivers. We let Jimmy Butler walk. I'm shocked Joel Embiid is still there. And there's word that he might be, seeking other suitors very soon, which, as I said, brings me to the big topic today, maybe the only topic today, player empowerment. And look at these two guys if you're watching on YouTube. LeBron James and Kevin Durant. What do they have to do with each other? Well, they weren't on the same team or anything, so they don't have to do, they need to do with each other in that respect. But let's go back to the decision. Because there's a way you can do player empowerment right. I say right, there's many ways to skin a cat, but colloquially speaking, affectionately speaking, and you go back to the decision, that was a bad move. Let's get that out of the way out front. The way he did it was a bad move. Going on TV, the whole, I know, all the money from it went to charity. Great. But he stabbed Cleveland in the heart. There's no other way to say it. He could have come out. He could have, had his management put out a press release and say, you know what? I worked with management over the past couple of years to try and get a deal done. We tried to get players, to help out the team. Just couldn't get it to happen. Therefore, I feel I need to test free agency. And quite honestly, I don't have it in front of me, but maybe he did put out something like that. In hindsight, maybe he did. Again, I haven't gone and checked, but I only bring it up to say, let's even assume he did do that. Let's assume he did that. Okay? That still means that after he did that, he still went on TV and broke their heart. So it's not like, he made the right choice after the fact. So just to get that out of the way he went about doing that was a bad move. But once he was free in Miami, everything he did after that was calculated and tied to short-term deals. Now, 4 seasons in Miami, you could say that's not a short deal. Short-ish compared to, other contracts of the past. But you think, hey, 4 years in Miami, Cleveland, he signed a couple years and had that clause in his contract where, he could opt out after the first couple years if they basically weren't feeling each other. So then he goes to LA, and since he's been in LA, it's been 2 to 3 year deals. One, because I think he wants to, according to him, he wants to play with Bronny, so he wants the option to, he doesn't want to be locked in for 4 to 6 years. He wants to be able to, when Bronny's in, be ready to go. But I think in general, it's been very smart of LeBron James to basically, if you look at the totality of his career, outside of the way he left Cleveland, which I think was just a young NBA player at the time getting caught up and kind of making a big mistake, which wasn't really a mistake, and we'll get back to that. We'll put a pin in that for a second. I think he's been very savvy about leaving places the right way, even if he's upset. Miami, for example. There was a little tension there, but wasn't like you never heard airing out any dirty laundry. The deal was done, and he was like, okay, now I'm going to go to Cleveland. And, we go back to Kevin Durant, and, he's sort of the opposite of that, where, he's a whole different situation. I shouldn't even say the opposite of that. He's player empowerment in a different way because he represents to a lot of fans a very advantageous form of player empowerment, where it seemed when he jumped to Golden State, and of course everyone knows it at this point. I'm not, I'd be rehashing it to get into all the details, but him going to Golden State was seen as sort of a weak move. A weak move. They let him do it. Okay, he's there. Then he jumps over to Brooklyn, and Brooklyn is really where things get dicey. Because if Kevin Durant never goes to Brooklyn, James Harden never goes to Brooklyn, Kyrie never goes to Brooklyn. And I think a big piece of what people are sort of complaining about with quote unquote player empowerment right now, big examples of that go back to that Brooklyn team. So Kevin Durant, for all intents and purposes, did things the LeBron way, kind of did them the right way, quote unquote. You could disagree with where he went to, but he's been pretty respectful during that time. So I guess he kind of is on the same wavelength as LeBron in that respect. But him going to Brooklyn, now we see it puts a spotlight on James Harden and what he did to get out of Houston with the alleged fat suit, and then getting out of Brooklyn, and now trying to get out of Philly. And you look at Kyrie and how he burned bridges in Cleveland, how he burned bridges in Boston with the Celtics, how he burned bridges in Brooklyn, and was like, I signed a deal, and then was like, I want out. And this is where things sort of take a turn. Like, this is where people now look at player empowerment and they sort of sour on it, right? Because they look at a guy like Kyrie, they look at a guy like James Harden, they look at a guy like Dame right now, and they go, these guys are just going to weasel their way out of contracts. We have no problem with people getting all the money they can. Because let me remind you, for every time you hear of a player getting, $60 million, $100 million, whatever number you want to throw out there for whatever sport, they're getting money that is part of a much, much bigger pie. Believe me, if people weren't watching the games, if the NBA was losing money hand over fist, these contracts would be curtailed. You would see the money go down. I know that's shocking to hear because you don't think of it that way. You think, well, the money train is always going to keep going. And in some respect, that's true. But believe me, if everyone stopped watching the NBA tomorrow, next CBA is going to be real interesting real quick. But going back to LeBron for a moment, and, I said put a pin in what he did, there was a very positive aspect to it. And the positive aspect to it is that you talk to a lot of players now, a lot of players that feel empowered to jump from team to team, even if it's just, a one-time deal where it's like, hey, I was on one team and I decided to go to another team. Guys kind of breaking, trying to get out of their contracts. They look at LeBron for that because he was the guy that took control of his destiny. He took control of it. He was on national television saying, no, I'm not staying in Cleveland. You kidding me? I'm letting it known to the whole world I'm taking my talents to South Beach. Now, again, the difference, the thing in all of this is always a piece that gets lost in the sauce. And the piece with LeBron's decision that gets lost in the sauce is that everywhere he's gone, he's fulfilled his contracts before he left. He didn't break any contracts or try and get out of a contract to get to where he's gotten. And again, after he left Cleveland, he signed short-term deals thereafter. Because he knows, okay, if this goes south, I've only got, 1 year left or whatever. I can bounce after that and say I've honored my end of the bargain in terms of fulfilling, if not winning a championship, although he's won championships, fulfilling his end of the bargain in terms of showing up every day, performing to the best of his ability, being a team player, all that stuff. And I'm curious, where, like, what was the point where it went from I just want to have the freedom to jump, like, I don't want to be encumbered by the idea of being on the same team forever, like some guys were in the past. Like, there's guys we don't even know about who maybe could have shined on other teams, but just happened to be stuck on the same team for most of their career. Maybe the opposite was true. Maybe they were a journeyman. It was at the behest of the teams that they were sort of traded around a bunch. You see it's a lot more in baseball than you do in the NBA, but it still happens in the NBA, obviously. There's tons of journeyman players. But yeah, when you bring it back to the idea of player empowerment, there's a point where I think the public perception, it soured a little bit. And I do wonder what the next CBA is going to be like, because you've got players that are going to still want their freedom, that are going to want the ability to, when the rubber hits the road, when things get tough, when the organization does something they don't like, they want to have the freedom to opt out. And I want them to have that freedom. I am pro player. I want them to have that freedom. But if you sign a contract like a James Harden did, where you've got a couple years left now, or not James Harden, but like Kyrie in Brooklyn, and you want out, and you're just like, well, I'm just not going to play then, because it's a catch-22, right? If someone's, we're not even gonna, like, don't even use Kyrie as an example, just anyone. So let's say Joe Schmo signs a 4-year contract to re-up with the 76ers. They get out of year 1, and they're like, you know what? I'm not feeling it. This sucks. I'm going to badmouth the GM. I'm going to just flip everyone off to make myself a toxic presence in the locker room. And that way, they're just going to have to trade me. Because if they don't, what's happening? They're just going to eat that money? They're just going to bench me for the whole season? I'll show up. I'll show up and get my money. There's nothing they could do. That's why we sign contracts, baby, right? Or are they just going to, end up trading that person to get anything back to salvage the deal? Like, if I were a GM in the NBA right now, I would, unless like Victor Wembanyama, I would even say, like, if like, I was gonna use the example of Wembanyama. Like, if a Wembanyama came along, and let's say he's on the Spurs for 4 years, whatever, does great. Yeah, let's say they win a championship. Oh, Pop's done it again. Wembanyama, he's got the magic touch. Wembanyama's got a championship. And then his time comes to become a free agent. Do you make the move to go after him if in that free agency period he re-signs at the Spurs, and then let's say after the first year is like, screw this, he, again, toxic presence in the locker room, totally like, there's no reason for him to be flipping out, but he's flipping out anyway, tanks the entire team, just like completely torpedoes the organization in a fundamental way. Do you go after him at that point? And I think the answer, and I think most people listening would agree, is if you're the GM of another team, I think you do. Because the guys that are super talented, like the real like VIP level all-stars that we talk about, there's always that chance. Oh, well, he burned them, but this is a better situation. He's not going to burn us. Well, we're better. Oh, James Harden, yeah, he didn't like the situation in Houston, but okay, that's just because Daryl Morey left. Like, then he went to Brooklyn. And, oh yeah, well, that's just because there was all the other drama with Kyrie and the vaccine and players being out and all that. No, not going to happen this time on the 76ers. Now it happens again. It's like burned 3 times. Now some other team, who's going to be the redheaded rube that just, falls off a turnip truck and is the GM of some team that's going to be like, well, I mean, he wouldn't do that to us. We're the Clippers. Of all teams, like, if he wants to go to the Clippers, like, talk about a snake-bitten team. Like, oh, we couldn't be us. Couldn't happen to the Clippers. He couldn't burn us. I don't think so. I don't know about that. Steve Ballmer's got to ask a lot of questions if he's looking at James Harden right now. I think everyone's got to be, asking a lot of questions. And again, it's not the majority of players, but it's the all-stars and the people that make the most money, that have the most power, that can then control where they go. So it's going to be very interesting when the CBA comes up, when negotiations start happening. What are the owners going to say? I've predicted for a little while now, I think the end game is shorter contracts. I think both sides, players and owners and management, are going to jump on shorter contracts from here on out for the foreseeable future. Because I don't think the owners want to be stuck in a position where, someone's, torpedoing the morale and the prestige, if I could use that word, of their team. And on the player side, they just don't want to, a lot of these guys just don't want to be locked in. Don't want to be locked in. Things are going great. I'll sign another 2-year contract, but, I don't really want to be here. There are guys who do. Giannis. And look, now there's rumors, I say that, there's rumors that Giannis may, want out of Milwaukee if they don't keep the, a good core around him. But I think he's saying that as the leader of a team who's already won a championship, like he's put in his work in Milwaukee. You know what I mean? Like, he's been there for years already. He's given them a championship. That I think is a whole different situation. Different situation with him. He's already delivered the goods. That's one of those like unwritten, like, once you deliver the goods, you're fine. Again, going back to LeBron, that's why the second time in Cleveland brought him a championship. I want to go to the Lakers. Okay, fine. Hey, gave us a championship. Can't argue with that. James Harden hasn't given anyone a championship yet. He's a great player, but he doesn't have that cachet yet. And I think, ultimately, when the question's asked, does this hurt player empowerment? I don't know if you can come out on one side or the other on that. I know that's not a sexy answer, because I'm sure there's some other, there's other blowhards out there who are going to be like, yeah, this destroys player, or yeah, this, emboldens player empowerment. Honestly, I think it just creates a bigger divide. I think the name of the game is not so much, does it turn out great or does it turn out horribly for the players and the owners? I think the terms of the deal are changing. Again, I think the big thing you're going to see is much shorter contracts, much shorter deals. And I think the GMs and these organizations are going to want things in place in these contracts to ensure that players don't do what James Harden did, let's say. That they can't just go on a mic, NDA type stuff. Now, the problem with that is, what's the punishment? And that's got to be, again, something in the CBA. Like, Harden was fined $100,000. Ooh. James Harden's really shaking in his boots with all the money he's got from Adidas alone. Not even counting his NBA money. $100,000. Oh, gee golly. How's he going to pay for that one? And you can only find them so much. Like, if they came out tomorrow and say, we're fining James Harden $5 million, okay, that would be something, but it would also make the fans go, what in God's name are you doing? You're fining someone $5 million for calling someone a liar? What are we, children? Got to really lay down the hammer on that one? So there's a lot of angles to this. But I think ultimately, like I said, reiterate one last time, I think the big thing is going to be shorter contracts and more NDA type stuff where they're going to try and muzzle players from sort of torpedoing the franchise on the way out if they want to get out. So, let me know what you think. Hit me up. Twitter, at Oddball Podcast, at Mighty Vin for the personal account. Over on Instagram, at Vin Forte NYC. And as promised, I've got a cool down segment today. And you might have seen this one. It's making the rounds. It's a tattoo. And it's called the triple mic. And if you're already guessing what it is, I think 9 out of 10 of you, if you've never even seen it, are going to guess correct. And yes, that is, as you can see on your screen right now, a tattoo that is one part Michael Jordan, one part Mike Tyson, and one final glorious part Michael Jackson. Why would you get this tattoo? Who told you to get this tattoo? I feel like Patrick Ewing in that clip when he's coaching Georgetown. The kid takes that bad shot. He's like, who told you to take that shot? You work on that shot? You practice that shot? Who told you to take that shot? Like, that's how I feel about this tattoo. Because, look, it's all fun and games. There are people who cover their body in tattoos, and then one tattoo is just not really going to matter all that much in the grand scheme of things. But if you don't know where this is on this person's body, it looks like like an arm or a thigh or something. But let's say you get it on your forearm, or by your shoulder or whatever, and that's like your one tattoo. Not to shame anyone, because you get what you want. But it's all fun and games until you're like a 60-year-old man still walking around with a triple mic, and you've got to constantly explain to people what in God's name this is and why you got it. Because again, I don't know why this person got it. Yeah, it's a fun meme joke. Hey, there's three famous people named Mike. Let's mash them together. But okay, haha, fun times. Now you've got that on your body, and ostensibly, it's just a Michael Jackson tattoo. Like, if you really break it down, yeah, I know you're putting the three elements of each. You're getting three mics in one, but really, it's Michael Jackson with the Mike Tyson face tattoo and a Bulls jersey. So you're really just getting a really weird Michael Jackson tattoo. You're getting a weird Michael Jackson tattoo. And again, fun and games at first, but you got to go to Thanksgiving with that. And there's going to be a lot of questions. There's going to be a lot of questions about why you got that triple mic. And then, like, what if you want it removed? Like, what's the lead time on wanting to get this thing removed? Like, if you like it, and then one day you're just like, nah, I don't want to get, like, you go to a tattoo removal place, like, yeah, I want my triple mic removed. Or you go, you know what, I just want to change it to a straight up Michael Jackson tattoo. Can you take the Mike Tyson tattoo off the tattoo? Take the tattoo off the tattoo. Change the Bulls jersey, like fill it in to all black, and then like put some studs on it and make it like a Michael Jackson vest, and just turn it into an MJ tattoo. I don't know what you do with the triple mic. Part of the reason I don't know is because I wouldn't get one. I don't have any tattoos to begin with. I would love to get tattoos. I just don't like needles. That's really, I mean, a wimpy answer as it is. It's an honest one. I just don't. Yeah, I'm not gonna sit there for an hour while you tattoo a triple mic on my thigh. But maybe you would. And I'm very curious. Let me know. Like I said, Twitter and Instagram Twitter at Mighty Vin and at Oddball Podcast, Instagram at Vin Forte NYC. And with that, I believe we've come to the end of the show. Again, kind of a quick one today. Nothing too heavy. Sort of a single topic episode for a little cool down at the end. Just because, like I said, look, new place, new space. A lot of. I'm back from the mic now. You could hear there's probably a big echo going on. Not echo, but like there's a lot of space. Like you could hear reverb off the walls like crazy. I may have to put up like some foam, or again. So help me God, I'm staring at the open door right now to my corner. If all it took was to shut that door, I'm gonna be so angry at myself. But I don't think it is. I think it's deeper than that, and I will figure it out. But like I said, that's it for today. Follow me on all those accounts. But the big one, youtube.com/@Oddball Podcast. If you're not already, go subscribe over there. And if you're watching and not listening, go subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. Apple, Spotify, not Stitcher anymore. Do not believe the bottom banner. I have to update that. Stitcher, as of this summer, apparently went out of business. So no more Stitcher. Google Play, it's probably on Google Play. Whatever. You're probably only getting it on Apple or Spotify. So, go do it on one of those things. And, take care of yourself. It's the end of summer now. I know I've had a long month. Go relax. Labor Day's coming up. Might do something special for Labor Day. I don't know yet. I don't know. You have to tune in to find out. So with that said, I'll see you back here next week. Regular schedule again. So late in the week you will get the episode. This has been Oddball Vin Forte. My name is Vin Forte. Bye-bye.